high noon here, and I'm on here with Jesse Shule, good friend of mine, a fellow handicapper. You can check him out at jesseshule.com and a number of other sites, and he can explain those later on in the show. We were just Jesse's got a few games he'd like to talk about. I got thoughts on a couple of them myself. Just a little chat here. Haven't talked to Jesse in a while, and he brought up on the show yesterday about the Michigan thing, and I had let my feelings known that, and just touch on a little bit now. I'm just tired of the Big Ten sitting on their ass, not doing anything. I know they're not going to do much, but at least they should have done something before this game Saturday. Looks like Captain Khaki Pants is going to skate by another week. And to be honest, I just think the Big Ten. I don't think the Big Ten. I think they're hoping that Penn State wins, because then they can kick the ball down the road a few more weeks and not really have to do the hard work necessary. But yes, and my dog.
I think we all should hope that Penn State wins. To be honest with you, I mean that would be the best result for everybody except for Michigan fans. As you know, Dan, I don't really have a dog in this race like you do. I don't give a damn about Michigan or Penn State or any of the teams in the Big Ten for that matter. And I'm not all that. I don't have my panties up in a bunch about them stealing signs. Do I think they were cheating? I think they were cheating. I think everybody's cheating. I think everybody's using performance-enhancing drugs. I don't trust anybody out there. I'm not dying to see Harbaugh get suspended, or I'd hate to see the Big Ten come down on Michigan and prevent the everything from being decided on the field. I'd like to see it decided on the field. At this point, everybody's well aware that Michigan's been stealing signs, so you can take precautions to avoid them stealing your signs. And let's see who the best football team is. I think that's in football fans' best interest. Maybe if you're a Michigan State alum and you really want to give it to the Wolverines, but I mean, isn't it more satisfying giving it to them on the field?
If you could.
If it was Michigan State in Penn State's shoes, you'd want to see it decided on the field.
Yeah. If we could, Michigan State isn't in that position because we suck. But that's a story for another show.
Let's talk about this Michigan Penn State game. I mean, does Penn State have a chance? I mean, what are our thoughts on that? We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I was having a closer look at it. It's a tough one based on the strength of schedule of both these. I mean, both these teams have been sort of padding their stats against lesser opponents, and really we have to go to that Ohio State game for any real data. I mean, the only real concrete data I can get from this season is Penn State versus Ohio State to give us an idea of how real is Penn State, because Michigan hasn't played anybody, and aside from Ohio State, Penn State hasn't played anybody. Would you agree with that assessment, Dan?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You talk about Michigan not playing anybody. I heard somebody say the best offense they've played all season is ranked 97th, and that was UNLV. So yeah, like you said, they haven't really been tested. I think they'll be tested here. My biggest thing with Penn State is James Franklin. When James Franklin wins a big game, it'll be the first time he wins a big game. I have no confidence in him being able to do anything.
Well, that's probably why the under might be the better bet here, just because James Franklin is so conservative. In fact, that's probably what cost them in the it was actually Marvin Harrison Jr. that cost them in the game against Ohio State. But I think there was some opportunities for them if they were a little bit more aggressive. Of course, it could go either way. If you're a little more aggressive, you might get punished and lose by 30. But you have to be a little bit more aggressive than they were if you want to come out of there with a win. But there was some wins for Penn State in that game. You look at the rushing attack for the Buckeyes. They only ran for 79 yards, averaging 1.9 yards per carry. That's a fairly impressive effort against their rushing offense. And aside from Marvin Harrison Jr., they really played them quite tight. I mean, if you remove Marvin Harrison Jr. from the equation, which obviously you can't do, but that was a huge mismatch that Ohio State was able to exploit. And I'm not sure that Michigan has that same mismatch, Dan. I don't think they have a player with that kind of talent and that presents that kind of a threat. I'm sure they got guys that can have a big day, but not like that. Not to the tune of 11 receptions, 162 yards, and a touchdown, and practically he was getting everything he wanted. I mean, he wasn't missing anything. You go to Marv Jr. and it's just an automatic first down.
Maserati Marv.
I was getting really sick and tired of hearing the announcers gleefully referring to him as Maserati Marv. It was quite clear who the announcers on the broadcast I was watching, who they were cheering for.
Yeah, you get Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt. It's the worst announcing duo there is. I hate them. And what's worse is watching Michigan beat up on Michigan State is having to listen to those two guys. But that's again another story for another day. Actually, I do have a question. You're Canadian hockey guy. I hear a lot now, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but Connor McDavid. I hear a lot of people saying, he's probably he could be the best hockey player ever. And I keep thinking, what about that guy named Gretzky? And I looking back, Gretzky, I think most people have missed this. And everybody talks about the goalies were different and goalies, but I don't know if you're around my age, but Gretzky, he had to play with the two line offsides.
Well, not only that, I think what is most significant to me about the success that Gretzky had is he played in an era where the opposing players will try to take your freaking head off. I mean, Eric Lindros is a big, strong man. That guy's built like a bull. And his career was ended promptly by Scott Stevens. Gretzky was a small guy, not very physically imposing, slim, not very athletic, not very fast, not very strong, just great, just unbelievably great and intelligent and with eyes in the back of his head, seeing things, able to avoid the big hits, able to avoid getting clobbered and continue to put up points in an era where the league was a lot more physical than it was today. There was very little protection for the players. Gretzky's protection was his line mates, guys like Kevin McClelland and Marty McSorley and the Oilers enforcers. But, I mean, they couldn't be with him at all times, and he had to take care of himself on the ice as well, and he was able to do that and succeed and put up practically double everybody else in point totals while he was playing. I wouldn't be comparing Connor McDavid to Wayne Gretzky, nor would I compare any other current players to Wayne Gretzky.
Man, my thoughts. Hey, don't leave out Dave Semenko.
Dave Semenko. Yeah, Gretzky did have his guys that, but
that was always the joke going around back in the day, when Wayne they came out with the Wayne Gretzky doll, and that was always the joke is if you bought a Wayne Gretzky doll, did a Dave Semenko doll come with it?
No, that was a pretty good one. But yeah, I mean, for me, Dan, I don't like looking at young players and saying this guy's the next because it's easy to say that. It's a lot harder to do it. And the career of Eric Lindros is a prime example. Another guy, Paul Kariya. There was a time, I mean, Paul Kariya was winning Stanley Cups. He was a great player. I mean, Paul Kariya was never really threatening for like GOAT conversation, but I mean, he was in the middle of having a Hall of Fame career, and a guy by the name of Gary Suter decided that he didn't like the goal that Paul Kariya just scored. So while Kariya was skating away from the net, celebrating his goal, Gary Suter took his hockey stick and cross-checked him right in the chin and pretty much knocked the daylights out of him, and he never came to. He was never the same player after that hit. He was an undersized guy, and that one big hit practically ended his career. And, this kind of you can see great careers derailed quite quickly.
Exactly.
So assuming that a guy that's playing well now is going to continue to do it for 10, 15, 20 years would be jumping to conclusions, in my opinion.
All right. I agree. All right. So for the young guys out there that don't know any of the players we just mentioned, Google is your friend. So check that out. Now we'll get off the old guy's soapbox, and we'll get into a couple of these games here that you like. I got a couple of thoughts on both of them. So Jesse, let's see, you like Kansas in this game going on Saturday. Why do you like Kansas?
The reason I picked this game, Dan, was a lot of guys I've been chatting with on Twitter are high on Texas Tech, and they really like Texas Tech this week. And I think it's the same old story. Kansas is supposed to be a basketball school. Kansas can't really be that good, can they? I mean, they're 7-2 now. They're coming off of a win over Oklahoma, and look at them go. Can they keep it going? And I tend to believe that they can. I like their coach, Lance Leopold, has got some creative offensive play calling working in his favor. The backup quarterback, Jason Bean, looks like he's getting more and more comfortable running the offense. And I think they've got the players to put up the points. I do think Texas Tech is also coming on. Texas Tech comes in playing their best football. They've got their backup quarterback, Baron Morton, also playing well. He's putting up decent numbers, had a good game against TCU. But Kansas isn't TCU. Kansas is a quality opponent. Kansas has home field. I think Texas Tech still has their flaws, and I don't quite think they can keep up with the Jayhawks here. I expect it to be a shootout too. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game because both these offenses come in rather hot.
Yeah, I can see that. I agree with that. Yeah, I do. Like you said, you think you looking for a shootout. That's kind of my lean on this game. I like the over in this one. You said both. Texas Tech puts up 30 a game. Kansas puts up 35. Neither defenses are known to lock people down. So yeah, I like the over in this one. And as Jesse said, he likes Kansas minus the 4 points. Right there's two easy tickets to cash. Get your Saturday started off right. Jesse, this game intrigues me, and I kind of look at it the other side in this one, and I don't know why. But so it's a Utah game, and you like the Utes in this one. What's your thoughts on
that? I know, Dan. A lot of people are going to be looking at this game and thinking, Utah just got steamrolled by Oregon. And Washington's, 9-0. They got Michael Penix Jr. They're looking like perhaps I think most people have come around to the fact that Oregon's actually the best team in the Pac-12, but Washington still has something to say about that. The problem for Washington, though, is it's a bit of a letdown spot for them. We did see after Washington upset Oregon, they laid an egg in a home game against Arizona State. They won 15-7. And in order for Washington to really impose their will on Utah, they got to, have their success through the passing game. They're not very effective running the ball. They're not a great defensive team, whereas Utah actually has an elite defense. And if this game turns into more of a battle of ground games, which is what Utah is incentivized to try and turn this into a war of attrition, slow the pace down, hold on to that ball, burn the clock. And something that's playing in Utah's favor is the weather. They're calling for heavy rain and strong winds in Seattle. It is the wintertime now in the Pacific Northwest. And as we know, it's a little bit difficult to sling the ball around the field on a windy, rainy day. If that turns out to be the case, Utah has got a serious advantage in this game. I mean, they do play the better defense and catching 9.5 points. I mean, this is a game that they could well win outright. So I think this is a scary spot for a Washington team that, they've flirted with disaster already a few times this year, but they're still undefeated. We don't see that many teams run the table in college football anymore. These teams that are 9-0, 10-0, more often than not, they run into a wall somewhere. And this is that wall for Washington, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, no. Listen, I could very easily hop on this game.
Before you disagree with me, Dan,
Oh,
can you agree with what I just said, though, that the teams that are rolling and they have an undefeated record and they're 9-0, 10-0, you know, more so often it seems like just when it seems they're unbeatable, bang, it's like
100%.
a wheel falls off. You've in your decades of watching college football, you can't tell me you haven't noticed that.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think this could be the game for Washington. I really do. And if I could get 10, I'd probably take Utah in 10. My only and I agree with that. You know, if it's weather, you know, like edge Utah, defense edge Utah. I still can't get past that Utah offense and that quarterback. That's the only thing. I was high on Utah at the beginning of the season when I thought Reisling was going to be back for the year, and he didn't come back. And there's just games that this Utah offense doesn't show up, or they put up 14 points, and I don't know. I guess I'll look at this game if it is raining. I'll probably top on and take the points. I agree with almost everything you say. It's just something that I just think that this could be a blowout for Washington.
Perhaps your brain is telling you, hey, remember they lost to Oregon by like 30 at home, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough to get on board seeing that. But then again, they scored like 38 against USC, and they scored a bunch. Yeah, I think they've scored 30 plus in 3 of their last 4 games. So I hear what you're saying. Their offense has looked like doggy doo-doo this season, but the fact is they have scored 30 plus in 3 of their last 4 games. So, I mean, and Washington's not a defensive powerhouse, but yeah, that's where I stand with this one.
I don't know. You might have sold me. If I can get 10, I think I'll take Utah in the 10. I think you sold me, Jesse.
I think this line's going to go down to 7 by game time if it's raining tomorrow.
Well, I'll just buy the half a point today and get it at 10. No, I agree with everything you say. It's just I just have a bad taste with that quarterback, but hey, things happen, as you say. Washington probably shouldn't be undefeated right now. You know, there's a couple games they probably should have lost. So, you know,
I mean, Oregon missed 2 field goals that if they didn't miss those 2 field goals, they would have won that game, right?
Or if they would have kicked a couple field goals that they had a chance to kick. Yeah.
I think that's what I meant. They weren't missing. They weren't missing field goals. They were opting out. They were.
They're opting out. Dan Lanning. That's a story for another day. I like the guy, and I'd be happy if he came to state, but I don't know some of his decisions. It's a young guy, the young guy analytics coaching style that sometimes drives my.
I'm not a big fan of the analytics, Dan. I'm an old school coach guy. Give me Nick Saban any day.
Yep, I agree. All right, last game here. This was one of these. Jesse, you picked a team that I used to follow a lot. I used to always like betting on them. I haven't really paid much attention in the last couple of years, but BYU, the boys from Brigham Young. Like I said, I used to like to follow them. You always get some big wins from them. You like them Saturday. Why?
I haven't actually dug into this game that deeply.
Okay.
Dan, the reason I put it on my list, this was on my list for a second look. And the reason it's on my list for a second look is because BYU's been downright disgusting the last few weeks. I mean, they've just looked like the worst team in the world. But I like betting on teams that look like the type of team that nobody in their right mind is going to want to bet on, because normally that's where the value lies. I mean, you're the only one who wants to bet on a team, and you're getting +8 at home. That's usually a good spot to be in. But there's one particular statistic, Dan, and I don't know if you're familiar with this statistic, but it's commonly referred to as the vampire trend. I don't know if you know about this one. You don't know about the vampire trend?
No, I'll learn something new. See, I'm glad I had you on.
Well, I don't know the exact number, but it's something like 20 straight games that BYU has won. And the only thing that needs to happen for BYU to win these games is the game has to be played at night. 20 in a row, night games. So don't quote me on the it could be 22,
Right,
it could be
right.
8, but it's in the neighborhood of 20 in a row, night games, undefeated. Big, long 2-3 year undefeated run in night games, which is it's weird. It's weird.
You know, now that you mention, I just remember back. I mean, I'm going way back. You know the Jim McMahon, Steve Young, way back in the day games, and yeah, they'd always get one big night game or something, or two big night games a year, and they always seem to win. It's
There's
something
no
about
doubt about it. Over the years, BYU has been a giant slayer, and they have a pretty solid home team advantage. Those Mormons like their football. Give them credit for that. They're not supposed to be drinking or doing any of that, but I don't know what they're doing. Whatever it is, it's the home cooking's working for BYU. And I do have to dig deeper into this. I'm not going to go and unload. I'm not going to drop 5 dimes on a game just because they got a cool vampire trend, but it was on my list for a second look. Okay.
All right. So, hey, fair enough. I'm glad that, transparency there. Yeah. And also, BYU, they always seem to have older players because, they got to take that 2-year mission somewhere doing the thing.
Yeah. They get 27-year-old seniors coming back from 3 years off in Africa, building wells for underprivileged children and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I do have a question for you, not about last night's game. I know you're in Thailand, so sometimes it's harder to watch, the NFL. You got to get up or.
Well, it's particularly hard when I'm doing shows with the likes of you at 5 a.m. my time.
Sounds like a you problem.
Good answer.
But did you catch any of that game last night? And I hope not.
No.
Good. You didn't miss anything.
It was on my list of do not watch.
All right, you didn't miss anything. It was painful, unless you had the under, which then that was nice. But all right, Jess, thanks a lot. Good stuff. Where can the people find you? I know it's jesseshule.com, but you're all over the place. You're doing, I don't know, shows all over, picks all over. Where can the people find you, and what do you got going on?
Well, I'm going live on the Winner's Circle with Ross Benjamin and Sean Higgs at 3 p.m. Eastern today. It's a big event when we do a Friday live show. We get a lot of people in the chat, so everybody's going to want to check that out. I'm on the Winner's Circle 3 times a week with Ross and Sean. We have a pretty strong following over there. Of course, I do my own YouTube videos on my own YouTube channel, Jesse Shule Picks. I got the website, jesseshule.com. And I just posted on Twitter this morning, Dan, because college hoops just started up. I'm off to a decent start with college hoops, and I've had some success over the years with college hoops. And I was thinking to myself, because I've got a particular game where a team's a 2-point favorite, and I took them on the money line minus 130. And I thought to myself, what's my record when I do that? Because, a lot of people would say, don't do that. That's going to cost you. You start laying 130 money lines, that's going to bury you in the end. People have been telling me this for years. So I went back to 2014. I ran a check of all my money line college basketball plays since 2014. 388 plays over the years that I've decided to play on the money line. 65% winners, Dan. 55 dimes profit. So I think that answers the question. Is it worth laying an extra 20 cents to eliminate a couple points off the point spread in college basketball? You got to make that decision for yourself, but it's damn well worth it to me.
Jesse, I've heard that a lot also, but I'm with you. I don't know how many, especially college basketball, and that's
especially in the tournament with so many buzzer beater games.
Or, you got 18, 19, 20-year-old kids shooting free throws, at the end of a game that, they miss one. Or front of it a 1-and-1 when you're laying 2 and you're up 1, and it's to me, I just like the peace of mind because it's very nerve-wracking and I can't take it. Case in point, last night came very close to breaking something. I had that. I don't
Atlanta Hawks.
know. James Madison, Kent State, college basketball. James Madison just got done beating the Spartans. They looked really good. I don't know why, but they were getting 4. They were playing at Kent State. Kent State had won 15 in a row at home. They're down 5. It's one of those games, back and forth, back and forth. They're down 5 with 3.2 seconds left. They throw a length of the court pass. The guy catches it, turn around 3-pointer, hits it. Thinking, all right, at least I'll get a push. On the inbounds play, offensive foul. James Madison gets the ball back. I'm thinking, all right, go for 3. Winner, go for the win. Nope. Backdoor, layup, overtime. All right, I'm thinking, all right, everything's good. Second overtime, James Madison goes up 5 with like 20 seconds left. I'm thinking, looking great. Kent State hits a 3 on the inbounds pass. The guy steps out of bounds. Kent State scores, double overtime. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm done.
But they did pull it off in the end, didn't they?
They pulled it off at the end, but I'm high.
But you got a pile of hair on the ground underneath your feet where you pulled your hair out.
Well, there's nothing to pull out anymore. No, but I'm hiding the beer bottles.
Pulling it out of the sides.
Yeah, I'm hiding the beer bottles so they don't get thrown at the TV. I think the dog went and hid in the other room because I just kept yelling. I woke up this morning with a sore throat going, where's my sore throat? I'm thinking that I remember, James Madison. But hey, that's
pretty sharp play on James Madison in that spot, Dan. I commend you for that.
Yeah, well, my ulcer wishes I hadn't. But all right, thanks, Jesse. Thanks a lot. Hey, thanks for coming on. Where the Winner's Circle? Where can they find that? Is that on YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube, the Winner's Circle podcast. Just run a search for Winner's Circle podcast. You'll see this face, this pretty face, and click on it and sign up for the live at 3 p.m. Eastern.
All right, I'll check that out. I haven't seen that show yet, and I like Higgs. Higgs is always good for a laugh every once in a while. So, and then
Higgs is the star of the show. There's no doubt about that. He does the majority of the talking.
All right. Hey, less to do. That's why I always bring people out like you on. I like to talk a lot, so I can just sit back and throw it to you and kick back and listen. And now I know about the vampire. The vampire.
Yeah, well, we'll have to dig a little deeper into that. But I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, Dan. But we got another college football show at 10:30 Eastern. You're welcome to join if you're interested.
Yeah, I should be around. Yeah.
All right, I'll hit you up on social media a little later.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Jess.
Maybe we'll get a little deeper into this vampire trend.
I have to look that one up now. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jess. Thanks a lot. I always love your plays, your insight, and it's always good to go back and talk old time hockey with somebody.
You betcha.
That understands it. All right, Jess. Take care. Get ready for today's show later on, and I'll see you later.
Good luck unless you're against us.